right. Hi, my name is J.C. Nore. I run the Small Business Development Center up at COCC. Dave asked me to speak here a while back, and I wasn't quite sure if that was an honor or a really elaborate form of revenge. So I appreciate that. He asked me to talk for half an hour, and I've never actually spoke about the SBDC for half an hour, so we're going to go find together if there's half an hour worth of material in here. But I appreciate the time today with all of you. I asked Dave kind of what the Kiwanis membership was like, what speaking with you guys would be like, and he said they're a really forgiving bunch. And I went, well, that's not a great way to start. So I appreciate that in advance. So anyway, if anybody hasn't heard of the Small Business Development Center, we basically help businesses in every stage of their life cycle. I looking at the faces here, I'm guessing that a lot of people in this room have either own a business, have owned a business, know somebody who's owned a business, have thought about starting a business, or at least have told your children exactly what they're doing wrong in the businesses that they're running. So hopefully there's something in here for everyone. And the other thing I thought that was kind of interesting was that, when I think about what the SBDC is doing as well as what the Kiwanis is doing, basically we're both a bunch of people that are volunteering essentially to solve other people's problems that we didn't create. And we were really good at making a lot of committees and boards and things like that because I work for the college too. So anyway, let's get into it. So what is this? So this is the Small Business Development Center. We're just one of a very large network of institutions across the country. We're funded by the SBA and Business Oregon. There are 17 of our centers across the state of Oregon. We are all housed inside community colleges to kind of amplify and really get the local flavor of what when you're with the when you're in the community college environment, you learn really fast what works and what doesn't inside a local community. And so I think that's what makes the Oregon centers really special. But there's over 1,000 of us throughout the U.S. and its territories. So I think we actually are in like 63 different territories. We've been actually housed at COCC for 41 years, if you can believe it. So the program's been going since 1984. And we do have, our main office is at Cascades Hall in Bend on the COCC campus. But we actually, and Sue, you'll be happy to know that we are just officially announcing next week they're going to have static office hours at our campuses in Madras, our campus in Redmond, and our campus in Prineville. So I'm trying to really meet the community where they're at. Every 5 years, this is kind of funny, every 5 years we're accredited by the federal government. They look at our program and make sure that we're doing everything right. I got to walk through that process in week 5 of my tenure with the center. So that is happily behind me, and I don't have to worry about that until 2031. But our mission is actually really simple. All we do at our core is no cost, absolutely free business advising, one-on-one advising for entrepreneurs. It's individualized. People can come and talk to us about whatever they want. It's absolutely confidential. We don't share any of the information with the college, and we close the door. So people that are already working in another industry, they're thinking about starting their job, can have a safe conversation with us, and it's a safe space. And the service is absolutely free. For the life of the business. Some people will come and talk to us once because they've got one problem that they want to kind of solve, and then they're done. Other people will engage with us multiple times throughout the course of their business. Some people are there every couple of weeks for a refresher. We open our doors to all. We also run small classes through the college. We have a bunch of different stylized courses, starting your business in Central Oregon. And a lot of those classes are built to answer some of the questions that everyone has about business. Like if you're going to start a business, everybody's asking the same 7 questions. So rather than waste an advisor's time with how to find an EIN or what kind of corporation or what kind of structure a person should put together, we have classes that teach that. We also do workshops, and I'll get into some of the other more specialized programs that we do. But like I said, we're really, a lot of people think about the SBDC either in helping businesses launch or solving problems for business, but we don't just solve problems for businesses. We can take perfectly healthy businesses and give them absolutely brand new problems to solve. We also basically, we really kind of think about business stages in five stages, and we'll go through this a little bit more in detail, but we help people on the idea stage. A lot of times, honestly, sometimes the best business advice that you can give to somebody is to tell them that they've got a really good hobby. And that they should probably keep their day job. But we also will walk them through. So somebody that comes and talks to our center doesn't need to have a complete idea. They don't need to be perfect. They just need to know that they just need to be willing to kick the tires with their idea with somebody else. And that's what our advisors do. We can help. We have a lot of conversations about launching a business. We have conversations about expanding a business when somebody's been successful for a while and want to lease a new office or hire new employees. We can help them plan for those kind of things. We do a lot of conversations about renewal. I'll talk a little bit about my own experience with that. And then we also help people when it's time to leave their business, put together their books in a way that allow them to get the best valuation for their business, and think about how to sell or give that business to the employees, for example. So that's kind of what we do. I thought my original idea for this was to actually get a whole bunch of pictures of Dave, because Dave used to own a water meter repair business, and show his business across the life cycle. But it was really just because I wanted you all to see Dave with hair. But that didn't work, so I thought I'd talk a little bit about my business. Speaking of hair, I not only run the business, but my introduction to the SBDC was because I ran my own business for about 12 years, and I intersected with the SBDC at multiple occasions across the course of that business. And so not only am I the president, but I'm a member, is the way to say it. So anyway, my story kind of with the SBDC started in 2008. How many of you guys were living in Central Oregon in 2008? It was not a fun time to live in Central Oregon in 2008. It was devastating. Our property values went way up, and then they all went way down. And I, at the time, was a sales manager for a printing company, had built a healthy income growing that business, and all of a sudden, all of that work went away. And the rug was pulled out from underneath us. And that wasn't great for me, because at the time, I had 3 kids to support, and we had a 4th on the way. That's Dave and Molly's girl, Jill, that was 45 years old. The only person I know that looks good and smiles while giving birth. But anyway, so yeah, we had to come up with a plan to figure out how we were going to keep our household running. And one of the things you learn really quick is that all plans are not built the same. This was the first idea, selling organs for money. Probably not a great idea, but I couldn't think of what else to do. I was literally stuck. I had literally got a call the day, I was making 6 figures at the job I was in, and I got a call the day that I lost my job from a competitor, and he said, "We'd love to bring you on board, and we can pay you almost $35,000 a year." And I went, and I went for my scalpel. But I had a friend that said, "You know what, you know quite a bit about running a business, and you've got a lot of relationships. Why don't you see if you can't do something with that?" And so I started literally in November of 2008, sitting at the kitchen table, working through some plans. And I literally had, like for weeks, I had a yellow legal pad, I had an idea for starting a business, and I just started sketching out all sorts of different markets and customers and sales strategies, and I was kind of all over the place. And after a while, when you're doing that, you're just kind of flailing, right? Like you've got some ideas, but you don't know what to do with them. And it was then that somebody told me back in 2008 about the SBDC, and I met Jim Wilcox, who recently passed, who was a great scion of the SBDC. And he took me under his wing and took some of those ideas and actually put them into numbers and helped me to develop my first business plan. We started talking about cash flow. We started talking about projections. We started talking about what was realistic and what wasn't realistic in my expectations. I had an income that I had to maintain if I wanted to protect my family. And so it was, the question was, would this thing actually do that? Or would the wheels fall off after 6 months and we'd be destitute? So that was the first, let me go back, that was the first maybe 2 or 3 sessions I had with the SBDC. And then I went off, and the neat thing about what our advisors do, all of our advisors, we've got 6 by the way, all of our advisors, with the exception of maybe one, have, and he, ran the finance, so you can tell me, did Dave ever run a business?
No, he was working with Habitat for Humanity, so similar.
That's right,
Yeah.
okay. But prior to that, he was in the C-suite at Boeing, and he was the person who made sure that all of the Boeing people didn't go to prison when they filed the SEC reports, right? So he's got some skill behind him too, but all the rest of us has owned our businesses too. And so they were really able to help me kind of work through a lot of the assumptions I had, challenge some of the numbers that I had on paper, like how exactly are you going to have 400 clients in the first 3 months of operation? Those are the kind of questions that you really need to push. And the beautiful thing is our advisors are asking and pushing people to answer those questions themselves. We don't give people the answers. We help them think through the process of starting a business. Couple weeks or a couple months after that, once I had proven the idea, I sat down with the team again, and they helped me think about branding. I was running a business at its start, didn't have a brick and mortar. We were just selling a service. And there was a lot of noise in that service. And so branding was a really important component of me getting the message through. And so we spent a lot of money, and that was where I dropped a lot of dollars to build like just the logo, the letterhead, the website, those kind of things. And the SBDC helped me kind of work through those ideas. And finally we got to the point where we got to launch the business. And I'll tell you, actually opening your doors is one of the most exciting things you can ever do as a business owner. This was actually, we had a little photo booth the day that we opened up the business, and these were some friends of me, and I was like some kung fu master or something. This just shows my excitement though. And so we launched the business, and there's so many things that go in with all of the planning and the launching, and the SBDC helped me along all of those phases. The reality is when you're launching a business, it's a lonely slog, right? Like you spend a lot of time working through things, a lot of time pretending things are great when you know that that they're wobbly on the inside. And so it was nice to have somebody that I could keep on coming back to. A trusted advisor who knew what I was working through, that I could really share all of the details about what I was going through, and then that allowed me to smile and put the really good face on for my in-laws, for my family. And it let me know that there was somebody that had my back. The business did okay. We actually were able to secure a bunch of clients. And I'll tell you one thing, one of the nice things about launching a business in the middle of the worst recession in recent memory is if you can do that, you can kind of do anything, right? So you kind of feel bulletproof. So we got to grow that business, and after a year or two of operation, went from working in the garage to actually having our own facility. But when you do that, you're signing leases. You're starting to deal with real money, things that you can't walk away from. You're tying your hands. So I went back. I hadn't talked to the SBDC at that point for probably 2 or 3 years, or no, maybe a year and a half actually. Went back to the SBDC, said, "Hey, we need to find an office space. We need to grow and figure out this thing." And again, they helped me try the ideas. They walked me through what a lease looked like. They hooked me up with a commercial realtor that helped me find a space, and they even helped me work through building a dividing wall so I could kind of have another tenant in my space to help me with the rent for the first couple of months. What they didn't tell me was I had to build that wall according to code. But nobody found out, and I'm not in that building anymore, so it all worked out. After a period of time, this was just the endeavor for a while was just myself. Jill helped me out running deliveries, but I needed more employees than just my kids. And so when it came time to actually hire somebody, they set me up with a lawyer to work on the employment contracts. They set me up, again, with testing the spreadsheets to make sure that I could actually afford to keep these people around. Because if anybody's owned a business in here, like, you're the last person that you pay, right? And so that's, again, it's another big step. You're making a big commitment, and now you've got other people's families on the line as well. And so having an advisor, again, that could walk me through that process was invaluable. Renewal. One of our biggest clients for the first 3.5, 4 years of the business was a magazine called Cowgirl Magazine, and I knew I had a problem. This was a mistake. They were well over 30% of our revenue. We would publish the magazine, we would distribute the magazine, we would help in all facets of this magazine. And then the gal who owned the magazine sold it to a publisher in Arizona who had his own printer. And all of a sudden, 30% of my revenue went away overnight. That was a really scary time because that was not something that was survivable. So I went back to the SBDC. We broke out the spreadsheets again. We started talking about how many people I need to call on a weekly basis so that I could close the deals that I needed to actually keep the thing afloat. And it took a while of clawing, probably about 6 months to a year to replace that revenue stream. And honestly, if I'd been talking to the SBDC the whole time instead of just kind of coming to them whenever I had a problem, I probably would have identified that, like, it's not a smart idea to have more than 30% of your revenue in one client. That's what I would tell somebody. But they helped me get through it. Dave and Molly, I don't think, know this, and I'm going to tell some stories outside of class, but Jill, my wife, went to Africa back in, I think, 2015 with a group. And for some reason, I was absolutely convinced that we were going to sell the business and move the family to Africa and go do good work in the world. And so I went and talked to the SBDC, and I said, how do I sell my business? And they walked me through the valuation process. They taught me the different ways that a person could value a business, their different risks. I was operating a business that really wasn't, we had a shop, but we didn't have a lot of, depreciable assets, right? So it was really, we were selling a lot of goodwill. And they taught me how to kind of frame that in a way that allowed me to get a better multiple. Jill came back from Africa, said there is no way we can move to Africa. And so we tabled that, but the conversation, that was kind of the last meaningful conversation I had with the SBDC in 2015. But because of the framework they had set, I was able in 2018, when I started to think about eventually selling my business, I was able to start getting the books in the right order, moving certain things off the books to make the valuation look better. And in 2020, we actually were able to sell the business at a pretty healthy chunk of revenue. And thank you. We literally closed the sale of the business the week that Governor Brown shut down the state back in 2020. And so sometimes it's better to be lucky than to be good, right? And so that was kind of my experience with the SBDC. And I should pause for a second and say, does anybody have any questions about the different services that we provide? Because I've been talking for a really long time, and we've got a small enough group where I can go.
Yeah, sure. Many years ago, for AFP, don't hold it against me, please. But we had something that we supported called the Senior Volunteer Service that would help small business owners. Does that still exist? And if it does, are you related to that, working with them?
So I think maybe what you're talking about, the way I know it is SCORE. And SCORE is also another SBA-funded program. SCORE, and in Central Oregon at least, SCORE and SBA, the SBDC are actually complementary organizations, right? So Jim Darcy is the president. SCORE is a bunch of volunteers. And so Jim and I we actually met last week to talk about the programming that they're doing, because they do some stuff at the library, and then the programming that we do to make sure that they don't overlap. I don't know, I haven't actually, has anybody had an experience with SCORE? So I don't know, we try to keep our advising relationships kind of one-on-one and confidential. I don't know if with their volunteer basis they can do that, but we certainly try to support each other. I mean, we're all publicly funded entities using taxpayer dollars to try to impact the community in a better way. So it doesn't make sense for us to have sharp elbows or step on anybody's toes. Yeah. You know, one of the sad things is I think their funding got like just decimated in the last budget cycle. I think that they went down by a good 85%. One of the nice things about SBDC is when that we were about to get the same funding cuts, and we had done so much work inside the communities nationally that we had literally within a couple weeks we had people rallying to the House of Representatives, and not only did they restore our budget in the budget, but they actually gave us more money because of the work that we had done. So.
Is that federal you're talking about?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Two questions, well, two things. Sarah Trout volunteers for SCORE, I think, so, I see she turns in hours anyway, so, got it. The question I have is, do you do this process for nonprofit? So if somebody wanted to start a nonprofit, would they be able to come to you, or does it?
So I'm on camera. The answer I have to give is that we don't actually work with nonprofits. The logic being that we're taxpayer funded, right? And so we try to keep those tax dollars back to taxpayers.
Say really quickly, there's a really awesome resource in Oregon called Nonprofit Association. So look into them because they have a full menu of things for nonprofits as well. Thank you.
I don't have a question, but I just wanted to say if things got tough for you again, I think stand-up comedy could be.
Thank you. I get it from Dave. I get all my good jokes from Dave. So, thank you. Sir.
When were you going to let us know you were going to move to Africa?
2 weeks after we left. Yeah. I had this vision of like teaching the kids political theory, like swinging in a hammock while like we were being fed mangoes. It was, yeah, Jill came back and she was very, very smart. She said, we cannot do this. And so.
How often do you hear TIA?
TIA?
This is Africa.
No, I didn't have a chance to go. Yeah, so it was just her. She was there for, gosh, almost a month, I think.
When you go there and you see things, you're like, what? They're like, TIA. What do you mean? This is Africa. You should hear a song about it. Yeah.
Okay. Well, her hips don't lie, so.
JC?
Yes. Oh, sir.
Can you help out with any way of like finding staff or guidance in finding staff on what you should pay staff?
Absolutely.
That kind of stuff?
Yep, that's exactly the kind of question that we're built to answer. So not only do we have guidelines, but we've got local resources too to help people with staffing. So. All right, I'll keep on slogging away if there's nothing in the room. Check my time. Oh my gosh, I didn't think I could fill half an hour, but I think I have.
Yeah, pretty close.
Okay. There's other things we do. There's other ways we impact the workforce in Central Oregon. We are involved in about every single community organization that you can think of, EDCO, SEDS, Oregon Manufacturing Association. I literally sit on almost every single one of these committees and boards now. So the nice thing is I can tell all of our staff what they're up to so we can cross-refer. Sir?
What is
The Rotary Club doing up there?
Nothing. Nothing at all.
we're asking about us? It's a mistake.
Somebody else's slides. Two other things that I want to say really quick before I leave. We've got two specialty programs that are run by an incredible gentleman who was a 14-year Army Ranger veteran. Just got a Tillman Scholar. It was just awarded the Tillman Scholar. We run the Strive program, which is specifically built for helping veterans launch their own businesses. We launched that in 2025. We've actually helped out. It's more than that now because this is last year's slide, but I believe our next program is launching in September. So if you know any veteran that is thinking about starting a business and wants to have an 8-week experience that's like intense and free, we're a great resource for that. Yeah, there's a lot of stuff that we do. I just ended up talking a lot about me, so sorry about that. You'll have to have me back sometime. Look at all this stuff I've got. Oh, and then just to show you guys what we do, last year talked to almost 500 people. We helped create 18 businesses, 39 jobs. Of the people we're continuing talking to that supported 100 or 1,500 jobs in Central Oregon, over $1.5 million in capital was directly related to activities that we had, and almost $700,000 reported in increased sales. And we literally have to report this stuff down to the penny to the federal government. So this isn't me just blowing smoke. This is actually like on federally documented forms. So anyway, thanks. I guess I can't go on.
We have to come for the pen presentation.
Oh,
and a photo.
Okay.
All right.